So in cycle 1, we had to look at our scheduling and decide how much time it was going to take us to be ready to present a lesson when we are collaboratively planning. We had a more choppy schedule. Teachers planned during their planning time, and then we had a full day where we could finish up and finalize the lesson, present the lesson, and review the data. We found that that amount of time, the choppy schedule, you have to stop and start, and you really can't get your thoughts flowing and collaborating as well. And then the full day of planning, by the end of the day, you're so exhausted that you have exhausted your mental resources. You really weren't able to focus that long. So in cycle 2, what we did was we had a 2-hour chunk of planning time that was built into the schedule. Each grade level got to rotate through that schedule, so they'd have a 2-hour block, and then we'd have a 45-minute block the next week, and very shortly following that we would have 2 half days where a team might meet in the morning on one day, in the morning the next day, or the afternoon the next day, so their minds would have a chance to digest what they did the first day and then come back the second day and refine that, go and teach that lesson and look at the data they collected and come back as a team and refine that lesson to implement in all of the classrooms. The larger chunks of time really made a huge impact in how effective their collaboration was. A huge piece of the framework that had to be put in place was to have the budgeting for substitutes and the in-house capacity for substitute, because we couldn't afford to have subs paid for entirely out of pocket. So we scheduled a way around hiring them to use people that were already on campus to cover classes. We had some teachers that were not in their own classrooms that were able to go in and teach quality lessons while the teachers that were in lesson study were doing the planning. So the students were getting effective instruction even while the teachers were out of their classes for a half day with the lesson study planning process. The other times where we didn't have people in-house working with the students, we hired substitute teachers to come in, and we applied that back to back where, say, a 4th grade class and a 5th grade class group of teachers would plan on the same day, because it's so much easier to get a full day sub than it is a half a day sub. The next piece we want to talk to you about is the framework of the multi-tiered systems of support. When we think about the multi-tiered systems of support, we think of standards-based teaching, effective instruction and leadership, and our PLCs. Lesson study is an integral part of all of those pieces. It builds our effective instruction by looking at Marzano's framework, by taking Marzano's framework and looking at the qualities of a good lesson and how does it directly apply to our lesson today? How does it make connections for us as teachers, regardless of the grade level that we're working with? And then we look at our professional development that we've been working on all year long. This year we happen to be working with the Common Core State Standards. We were working with number talks, and we were working with cooperative learning. All of those pieces were able to be meshed in with lesson study, so we were actually able to apply what we had been learning all year long to make those connections. An important piece with making connections is having the whole school understand where the connections are coming from. Our administrators would come in and make some of those connections with us during faculty meetings and during the lesson study process. They would talk to us about how some of our SIP goals tied in. When the teachers are able to take what they're learning all year long and every day in their professional development and apply it to the lesson study, it makes it come to life. And it makes a big connection with how to improve our practices. When we're able to then look at our deliberate practice that we've worked on all year long, we're able to bring that expertise to the table and share it with our colleagues. And most times they will say, hey, I love that idea. I'm going to take that back to my room and try it. So it's a way to spread our knowledge and share our knowledge with our peers. To guide the participants through the collaborative planning process. I always try to tie in professional development. In our case, it was Common Core State Standards, math, number talks, and cooperative learning. With that, I like to pull in deliberate practice through our evaluation system, Marzano's framework, student assessment, and reflection. Through all those pieces, we're able to really plan deeply, collaboratively, reflect on how all those pieces came together and how the students responded to that instruction in order for us to improve the instruction to make them make even more gains.